I wouldn't change what happened to me. And that's the God's honest truth. If any one of you had a superhero ability where you could send me back in time and give me a do-over, I wouldn't accept it. I would gladly relive everything I have been through, provided I had this outcome. Because who I am now and what I offer the world, I wouldn't want to give that up to avoid going through those dark days or the pain I went through. I think it was all worth it to turn me into who I am now.
I think we look down now to 16-year-olds and say, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to do for the rest of your life? And it's like, they're not fully baked yet. How do they know? Give them a break. Just say, look, I think after high school, take a year off, take 2 years off, join the Peace Corps, travel, go figure things out, or just enjoy yourself. For the first time in their lives, they're adults, and they don't have to be somewhere. They're not told to be somewhere.
Like I tell people all the time, we all got to go through something to get something that we want in life. Things may not always go the way you want it to go, but I promise you, if you continue to focus on the positive rather than the negatives, you will be all right. It's tough sometimes. It gets tough every day, but we got to make it. No matter what it is, no matter what you're going through, just think about it for a second. Somebody did not wake up this morning, but you did. I always say this to people often. You are above ground. Why are you above ground? Because there's purpose within you. There's purpose for you. There's opportunity for you.
You feel like you're missing out on all the fun. Me too. Everyone else has more friends. Everyone else does the fun stuff on the weekends. Everyone else gets all the attention. We're missing out on a lot, and it doesn't end there. We're missing out on the endless search for acceptance from an empty source. Missing out on the constant need to mask the reality of who we are. Missing out on the acting like everything is okay and shutting down when the crowd is gone. So yeah, we're missing out, but I think that's just fine for now.
Yes, sir.
When it came time to take things to the next level, I knew that I had to make a website, and Wix.
My life is like I'm running from a pack of starving wolves. If I slow down at all, I will be eaten alive. Like I have one choice, and it's to keep going as fast as I can, or I'll be torn to pieces. And that's what it felt like, and I love that. Like that sounds so like negative and dark, but like I love that. It was such like a motivation.
No, you see, it's impossible. And plus your name who can pronounce Schwarzen Schnitzel or something like that. No one can pronounce that, so forget about it, Arnold. This is the kind of thing that I heard. Imagine, you go from studio executive to studio executive, from agent to agent, from manager to manager, and they all said exactly the same thing. Now that's very encouraging, isn't it? But you know something? I didn't give a shit.
Yes!
I didn't. Now that's very encouraging, isn't it? But you know something?
Yes.
I didn't give a shit. I didn't. Because I believed
Yes, sir.
that I can be a leading man. I believed that I could be another Clint Eastwood or another Burt Reynolds. I believed that I could be those people. I said there's enough room on that ladder
My man.
that I can fit up there. And I looked back again and learned from what I learned in sports.
Yes, sir.
It's all about the hard work that you put in.
You get to redesign. You are your Michelangelo. You are your greatest sculpture. And you get to recarve and you get to up-level as much as you need. You're not sentenced to this life this way. You chose it.
I love myself. I like myself. You the bomb yourself. Yes, you are. All right, now let's go ahead and get to this topic for today. I hope y'all motivated. I hope you love yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Keep yourselves good and in good health. All right, so today we defining healthy. Let's define healthy. What is healthy? Definition of healthy. Let's see.
What is the definition of health? My name is Dr. Jeff Langmaid. Over the next few minutes, I want to break down to you exactly how the World Health Organization defines health, how you can think about it, and proactive steps that you can take to make sure that you are having your highest quality of life. So what is the definition of health? Is it just not being sick, or is it living a high quality of life? Well, the World Health Organization defines health as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. And that's a very important point that we're gonna break down over the next few minutes, because they are highlighting what many people now call a biopsychosocial model of pain. Physical, biomechanics, how are you moving? Movement is such an important part of...
Hey, welcome to another episode of Expansion Pack. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. As you can see, we in here. Fun Fridays. We just gonna chill out today. Watch some of our playlists that I've been putting together over the last couple months. Just of all of the topics, all of the videos we've watched. We're just gonna run back through them, cycle back through them, see what kind of bits and wisdom we can get out of it. All right, motivation for today. Let's start it off like this. Let's see what we got. We probably heard this one, but let's hear it again.
This is how to get in shape. The best way to boost your metabolic rate and get in shape is not...
Today is a new day.
Instead of jumping out of bed and rushing right into the stress
as possible. Right. Now, as we...
My bad.
Breathe.
There you go.
Take a moment to eliminate the stress and realign your mind, body, and brain with the joy that does live inside you. You get to choose if your day is going to be like every other day or if it's going to be a great day. And you decide first thing in the morning by giving yourself that time to realign your brain to positivity, to redirect your mind to what is good in your life. What is good in your life right now? Take a moment to think about it.
Start your day with intention. Today, I will be present. Today, I will be kind. Today, I will be the example I expect of others. Today, I will give my all in every moment.
It's all about intention. When you direct your focus to the good, you will see more good. If your focus is directed to the stress and struggle, you will see more stress and struggle.
If you want to be really happy, give thanks. That's the secret. Happy people are grateful people. So spend time in gratitude. Spend time in intention and expectation for what a great day today is going to be. Feed your mind with something positive. Read or listen to something uplifting. Something that will grow your mind or spirit.
You attract your intentions. You attract your beliefs. You attract what you feel. So get up and feel good. When you direct your focus to the good, you will see more good. If your focus is directed to the stress and struggle, you will see more stress and struggle. That is your only job. Get up and get yourself feeling amazing. Ask yourself, how can I feel great today? How can I grow today? How can I make others feel great today? Open your eyes to the magic around you. I guarantee you, you have been missing out on miracles because you have been lost in the stress and noise inside your head. Get out of your head and get into the magic of life.
Today is a new day, a fresh, clean canvas. You can paint whatever you want on that canvas, no matter what happens. You are the artist. Add some color, some joy, some life to your canvas. Leave nothing off that canvas.
As soon as you get up in the morning, ask yourself, what's really important today? Is it important that I rush around stressed at everything I have to get done? Or can I just enjoy this moment? Can I set the tone for the rest of my day? You decide what kind of day you will have, not what happens, but how you will respond to everything that happens. You can respond positively to any situation. Will you respond with presence? Will you see the good? Will you find a way around the obstacles? Will you write your own story, or will life write it for you?
Yes, sir. That's good work. And y'all gotta forgive me that I'm in this game right now. Y'all watch the last little taste of this video. I'm gonna go over to the channel. There you go. All right, let's dig into this playlist. Hold on.
Learning from data.
Come in and just be.
In this video, I'm going to be going over the top 5 online certifications that are actually.
We've seen these though.
In the previous video, we learned a little about technology and technological devices. Now we're going to talk about the evolution of technology and the main factors that influence it.
Let's see what this is. Nope.
Okay, so the theme for the week is embodied awareness, and we're going to do 2 practices today that will.
So you got a lot of questions. You got a lot of questions and just not enough answers. Man, do I know what you're talking about. Questions. Questions are worries, the what ifs. What if that happens? What's the meaning of this? What's the point of all of this? What if I say yes to that? What if I say no to that? What if the company goes under? What if this happens to my son, my daughter, my friends? What if I move? What if they move? Lots of questions. And the questions, the scales of questions and answers in life, damn it, it's never balanced. So how do we keep going though when all these questions are conscious? And they're right in front of us, you know, and they need answering before we can step forward. Let me invite you to try something and think about questions differently. And this really helps me, okay? And welcome to Victoria, British Columbia, by the way, on the 23rd floor of this beautiful condo. We got the ocean here. I'm gonna be doing some swimming. The ocean's about 3 degrees Celsius, so it's like cold plunging. It's gonna be amazing. And as I'm out here, I've had definite worries about what am I gonna do with my Master's of Neuroscience degree?
Right.
What is gonna come of that? What if nobody watches these YouTube videos anymore? So few do already. Do I still make them? Why am I even making them? You know, what is my faith all about? I'm getting more into Christ and following Christ, but is this a good thing to do? Is it embarrassing because I see other people doing that and they're like kind of messed up? What? These questions are so vivid and in front of us, and they're calling hard for an answer. Like they want an answer right now in order for you to be at peace. And what I do now is I take those questions and I live them out. Live out your questions, meaning you don't stop and research and listen to all the podcasts and journal about it and really try to figure something out. Sure, sometimes, depending on the question. But eventually you're gonna have to make a decision and you're gonna have to live out that question. You're gonna have to keep living, and experience will determine your answers. Experience, as you live them out, as you walk beside your questions, let your questions follow you. Let your questions follow you. Like, they're right behind you, they're not threatening. Why do we think these questions are threatening us? It's not threatening. They're just gonna follow with us and say, you know what? I can't answer you right now. I don't have the intelligence, I don't have the experience. I just don't know.
Right.
And the don't knows can follow you along the journey.
Right.
Like, if a child asks you at age 4, you know, why is the sky really blue, Dad? Why is the sky really blue, Mom? They're not ready for the actual answer yet. They're not ready. You're going to talk to them about organic chemistry and refraction and reflection, and that's not going to make sense. At some points in your life, it's okay to put the questions aside and keep living. Live them out. You will get answers. They will be checked along the way.
Yes, sir.
But it's not going to happen when you just sit.
Right.
This isn't sometimes an intellectual battle. It's a battle of living. And when I look at podcasts and see people interviewed and they're so smart because they've read so much, and I'm like,
like commercial.
So last night he used him. Honestly, nothing better than when a guy...
I don't want to be that. I want to gain my answers through living. That's the way I'm satisfied with an answer too, right? You can read everything about the latest Metallica concert and how many people were there and the set list that they played, and you know everything, and then you can go to a show. That's living it out. I wonder what the Metallica concert will be like. Okay, I'm gonna read about it, I'm gonna see the set list, I'm gonna count how many people, you know, see the attendance, where it was, what kind of beer were they serving there, were people allowed to smoke inside?
You can get all in
Or
details.
you live out the question and you go to the show and there's your answer. Okay? Live out your questions. Write that one down. I am going to live out those big questions I can't answer.
Yeah, I like how you went right into that song.
Right now.
That's my guy. Hey, look, hey, we gonna live.
I'm going to live out my questions. And the next thing about meaninglessness. This is a big one. And sensitive souls are sensitive to this world and sensitive to this word. And billions of people right now are in your same position, billions before us and billions will be after. The mystery of the universe, the mystery of existence, the mystery of purpose, the mystery of faith. What's this all about? Meaninglessness. And of those of you who have dealt with depression, as I have too, the utter pointlessness of every interaction, of everything we see, of everything we do, of everything we see other people do, of the tasks we have to do, of the chores. What's the point? What's the point of cutting grass? It's long, you made it short. What the fuck? It blows my mind, and the brain plays tricks on you. Depression is very real. It plays tricks on you. But even if you're not fully depressed, the existential comes to us all. It does. In times of hardship, in times of loss, traumatic experiences. And what is this meaninglessness all about, and what can we do about it? And this will help about 10 of you. This will help about 10 of you. And for the rest, I'm sorry, it might, but this really helped me. I'm at home, totally depressed. I won't tell you the year.
Yes, sir.
My dad's there, and I'm like, oh my God, Dad. Ugh. It's just so pointless. Ugh. It's just so pointless. Everything is freaking meaninglessness. Oh my God, what the hell is the point? There's no meaning. It's pure meaninglessness. There's no meaning to anything. seeing them in the kitchen cooking? What's the point? Seeing them sweeping the floors, mopping the floors? How do you have energy to do that? What's the point of keeping something clean if it's just going to get dirty again? Why are we even living here? Why even talk? What's there to talk about? And my dad simply said, Scott, then let it be meaningless.
Yes, sir. Wow. Wow.
Let it be meaningless.
Yes, sir, Dad. Yes, sir.
Everyone, that just freed me. Those words freed me.
Yes, sir.
To always
I
search
feel
for
you.
meaning. That's what we're told to do, right? Even when we're feeling terrible, this is the time to do the big search. You have to search for meaning, search for purpose, get a mission, follow it. I've said this to you all before too. You gotta get a mission, because even though when you're feeling low, you're gonna have that North Star to keep you going. There's gotta be nuance. You don't get a lot of nuance online. It's either this or it's that. That's what gets clicks, that's what gets views, that's what gets controversy and comments, therefore more views. There's nuance to this. If you're in a dark place of meaninglessness, for the time being, let it be meaningless. Does that relieve a bit of pressure?
Yes.
Does that relieve a bit of pressure? Let it be meaningless. Go about your day, find humor in it. I'm just pissing in a toilet, and it doesn't mean anything.
Hey.
I'm pissing in a toilet, and it doesn't mean anything. Pissing in a toilet, and it doesn't mean anything. Whatever. I'm doing my homework because I gotta do my homework. It's meaninglessness. But here's the thing. When you're in that
I'm glad we
state,
stopped at this video.
unless it lasts a really long time, my friends, just like living out your questions, meaning will find you. And you will find meaning. You're gonna meet in the middle. You're gonna meet in the middle with some purpose, something to live for, something that interests you, something that excites you. But in the middle of meaninglessness, the search, there's so much pressure. There's so much guilt. There's so much shame. And why is it meaninglessness? It shouldn't be. I gotta find it. Everyone else can cut grass and find meaning in that. Everyone does this and they find meaning in that. The questions add up. Living out your questions means I'm gonna let it be meaningless for a little while. And let's just go A to B, baby. Let's just keep going. No pressure. No pressure.
All right.
Oh man, is that fun or what?
Yes, sir.
Let it be meaningless. So with that being said, free yourself from the search, free yourself from the pressure, be in this for a while, and let it be. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening on the Being Human podcast. You know all of the links in the description if you want to get in touch, if you want to support the channel and all these things. And the big news is I had this just epiphany and this idea that back on.
When we touch here, maybe just try this, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, oh, that feels nice. Yeah, that's good. So just do that because it feels comforting. Because when you were a baby, your mother held you in her arms and she touched you here and it hardwired you to produce delta waves. What I'm going to do with you, Mabel, if it's okay, is I'm going to.
No one knows what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. I don't care what they've told you.
Hey,
I don't
you
care
gotta
how
be
many
for
books
another
you've read.
video.
I don't care what famous influencer, author, spiritual guru has told you that they have it all figured out. They don't. They don't. And if they say they do, what a boring life they have. And how not in touch they are with the forever changing world and forever changing self. They're not in tune, man. Look around. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows. And what we like to do is, if you're a very introspective person, right, you ask yourself a lot of questions, and when we find ourselves dissatisfied with our life, sometimes we just go in, what's wrong with me? It's the things that I've done, it's the mistakes that I've made. I feel lost because of this. It's okay to look to the outside, because the outside is what we're a part of too, okay? You can't disconnect from humanity. It doesn't last too long. Try to be isolated for over a month. Try to not have a real conversation with a human being for a while. Your brain atrophies. It rots.
Right.
We are part of the collective. And it's important to know what's going on here. You know humanity, you know yourself. You know yourself, then you know humanity. And sometimes I bet you've been dissatisfied with your life, with maybe your job. And I don't mean this to say always be complacent, you don't need to change, you don't need to take action, no. But a helpful thing that I do is to add some levity to the situation. And just look around, man. No one knows what's going on.
Right.
No one knows what they're doing. Sure, they might have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, but let me tell you something. There's a guy out there that for the last 12 years, he's just been selling jet skis, and he knows a lot about jet skis. He knows the horsepower, he knows the demographic, he's got his cold calling script down. There's a guy who's 62 years old, and he's always wanted to do steroids, and now he's finally trying some TRT. It's real. Look for an example. There's thousands of people like that. There's people that have really big families and they love it. There's people that are unable to conceive and they've tried for years and years, and unfortunately they didn't want to adopt and now they just don't have a family. There's people out there that wax their entire bodies, and there's other people out there that haven't tweezed their nose hair, that haven't tweezed their ears, and this is the way they want to live. There's people out there that work at factories. There's people out there that for 30 years they've worked at a Cineplex ripping tickets and they're happy and that's all they need. There's people out there that at age 45 they're finally going back to do their PhD or doing their master's degree. There's people out there that are real seekers and they've completely left home and went to India and are doing silent retreats for the next 5 years. There's people out there that have sold their house, and due to this minimalistic urge that they've had, they're now living in a van down by the river. A friend of mine is expecting his first daughter in December. It's going to be amazing. A friend of mine who used to be my old boss, we worked together like 10 years ago, and I met him a few years back, and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, well, you know, last time we spoke, I was engaged. I'm like, yeah, okay. So he's like, yeah, we got married, had a couple kids. Now I'm divorced, and I met him at a bar, and he's like, now I'm at this bar, and I'm on the first date I've ever been on in like 20 years. I make YouTube videos. I help people with self-compassion, their inner critic. I do speeches at schools and at conferences and at workplaces. And
Why did I even like this video before?
Interests drive us. Our mission drives us. Shallow desires drive the immature. But if you're mature in your desires, these deep desires, these thick desires, I think there's a truth that you're automatically compelled to move towards. And that doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean you don't try weird things. But it does mean that that life's going to be messy, man. And that...
Yeah. Next.
2 questions. Just 2 questions that studies have shown over a lifetime human beings have either contemplated or struggled with is number 1, who am I? And number 2, what am I here for?
All right.
Now today I want to give you 3 steps. Just 3 simple, easy, and practical steps that you can apply in your life that will help you answer these 2 questions. And here's why I want to do that. Because I know once you have the answers to these 2 questions,
all right, there you go.
Why did Amazon send me $20,000? Because I use Amazon AI. I'm going to show you a way.
Brainitos presents 12 Genuine Signs of Intelligence. Have you ever encountered someone who really wanted everyone to think they were smart? And whether they were using big words or just flaunting their nerdy hobby, it was quite obvious that they weren't as bright as they tried to appear. While smart individuals are more likely to believe that they aren't particularly smart, less intelligent people are prone to overestimate their competence. Intelligence is indeed something that a lot of people wish they had, and many others attempt to fake. However, there are certain things in life you simply cannot fake, and genuine intelligence is one of them. In fact, there are several indicators that have been scientifically linked to higher levels of intelligence. Here are 12 of them. Number 1, insatiable curiosity. You might think that pretending to know everything is impressive and makes you look smart. However, it's the ones who admit they don't know everything who are the brightest.
Right.
It's not just because it displays humility, it's also because it shows their interest in learning new things. Truly intelligent people ask insightful questions and spend hours researching new and exciting topics. As a result, they continue to learn throughout their lives. Number 2, open-mindedness. Too many people take pride in what they believe, and they often associate their sense of self with their rigid point of view. Intelligent people tend to be more objective because they look at a situation from different perspectives and make an effort to really understand it before making a judgment. While this doesn't mean they are gullible or easily swayed to change their views, they definitely aren't afraid of exploring new concepts and ideas. Number 3, being the silent type. There are many misconceptions about quiet people, like being antisocial, socially awkward, or weird. This isn't necessarily true though. They may not be the life of the party, but that's because they are taking the time to assess the situation and find someone worth talking to. And if they're already in a group conversation, intelligent people prefer to think about their responses before saying them out loud. They also find silence better than engaging in pointless small talk. Number 4, high adaptability. Life isn't always going to be easy. Some complain about that, and they might even throw a tantrum because adjusting is too much work. Intelligent people, on the other hand, feel more capable of taking on twists and challenges. Adaptability is actually a key component of intelligence. It refers to the ability to adapt to new situations or circumstances. This trait is also linked to resilience, or the ability to bounce back from adversity. Intelligent individuals aren't afraid of uncertainty and are prepared to face whatever comes their way. Even when things don't go as planned, they bounce back fast and are eager to try again. Number 5, strong self-control. When hurt, rejected, or dismissed, many people might resort to yelling. Truly intelligent people are different. They don't allow emotions to get the better of them and can therefore avoid rash decisions. They're more the type who think rationally and weigh the pros and cons of a situation. You won't find them throwing things and whatnot. Number 6, ability to acknowledge faults. Those with an ego will never admit a fault or a shortcoming because they feel it makes them inferior. In contrast, intelligent people do not tie their self-worth to their ego, so they have an easier time accepting mistakes and moving on. Being honest with yourself and others is an admirable trait, and it displays high intelligence. Number 7, a knack for wit. Studies have shown that humor and intelligence are correlated. In fact, comedians in particular score higher on IQ tests. That's because humor involves not only processing information, it takes finding the odd angle and perfect timing, as well as higher verbal intelligence. This unique ability and presence of mind allows one to convert even the most inconsequential circumstances and things into something you can burst out laughing at. Number 8, high creativity. Innovative ideas and creative solutions are basically everyday practices for the highly intelligent. Creativity is actually one of the highest forms of intelligence because it requires thinking outside the box. Since intelligent people are able to see things from different perspectives, they excel at problem solving. They're also great at turning visions into reality, which takes incredible know-how and good observation skills, in addition to a curious and creative mind. Number 9, strong self-identity. Intelligent people have the wonderful gift of self-awareness. This means they are tapped into their psyche and know their likes and dislikes, goals and ambitions, strengths and weaknesses, and their values. This doesn't mean they think they're perfect. Quite the opposite. They accept their insecurities instead of pretending they aren't there. However, their sense of self doesn't falter just because they have weaknesses. Intelligent people work on their weaknesses while developing their strengths. Number 10, ability to maintain a variety of interests. Intelligent people don't limit themselves to doing one thing. They tend to have several projects they're working on. They might work a full-time job while growing a side hustle, learning a foreign language, taking music lessons, or finishing all their wooden furniture. While many people like staying busy, these folks prefer to spend their time doing things that help them improve in some way. Number 11, preference for solitude. Intelligent people need their time to recharge away from the world. This doesn't mean they hate people. It just means they like the space to reflect, brainstorm, and study past experiences to plan their next move. They understand that the more time they spend socializing, the less time they have for themselves and their ambitions. Of course, they do have friends and family they treasure, but they also need that alone time. Number 12, sensitivity to other people's feelings. Intelligence isn't only determined by a high IQ. Emotional intelligence is just as important. It plays a significant role in the achievement of success, the quality of relationships, and overall happiness. A well-developed EQ enables you to better deal with stress and to understand others and where they're coming from. Being sensitive to the feelings and emotions of people around you also allows you to respond in a way that is appropriate to their needs. Empathy is in fact one of the most prominent elements of emotional intelligence. In essence, there are many aspects to human intelligence, but there are certain characteristics and behavioral patterns that can be recognized in highly intelligent individuals. Which of these traits do you identify with the most? Tell us in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Pursuit. Jeff Hutchin here with John Saborov. And today, we have the second installment of...
Dad Jokes.
No, you gotta sing it. You gotta sing it. Come
Dad
on.
Jokes, Dad Jokes, Jokes with Jeff and John.
That doesn't count. It doesn't count as a laugh, but that is about as corny as it gets. And hopefully that's
super cool.
Text messages occasionally, just throughout the day.
Every day.
Sweetie. Just little
Every
things like
single
that.
day I do that. I do.
Well, the other day, Sherry sent me some really sweet texts, but I got a little confused, and let me just share this with you. First of all, she wrote, "If you're sleeping, send me your dreams." Isn't that sweet? A couple minutes later, she said, "If you're laughing, send me your smile." It's really,
That is nice.
it's really,
Yeah.
If you're eating, send me a bite. If you're drinking, send me a sip.
Sounds like a poem almost.
It was but they were kind of spread out.
Okay.
And she said, "If you're crying, send me your tears. I love you." And that was kind of the string. Well, I texted back, "I'm on the toilet. Please advise."
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Another long setup, and you reeled me in. What do you call somebody with no body and no nose? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody
That's what you
knows.
call them.
All right, we're going to slip into our bonus questions.
Okay.
You got three?
I got lost, but
You good
probably.
with bonus questions?
Probably.
Okay. Ooh, we got one from the crowd.
From the crowd.
The crowd got submitted. That's not fair. Ooh, we got one from the crowd.
From the crowd.
The crowd got submitted. That's not fair. Come on, guys, where's mine? All right. What's Iron Man without a suit? Stark naked. Do you follow Iron Man?
Yes.
Tony
Tony Stark. Yeah.
I thought
That
I
was
could
a
get you on
stretch.
that one.
That was a stretch.
I got a friend out there. I guarantee you, Ira Williams laughed at that one.
Oh.
He's an Avenger guy.
Yeah.
He's an Avenger guy.
So, I phoned a friend, Jeff Porter, for this next one.
Okay. Do you need him to deliver it? You want to tag out?
Do you want to?
Why don't you tag out?
Jeff Porter, you
tag
wanna
out.
hop
Get him in here.
Get in here, Jeff
Porter in
Porter. Get in here. Get in here.
Bring it
Jeff
on,
Porter,
JP.
everybody.
JP, bring it on.
Get him. Get him.
CEO handbid.
And dad joke novice.
Dad joke novice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're going to help John out here with this one.
He needs it. Because I kicked his tail, I think. Seth, did I kick his tail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. How does Moses make his coffee?
How does Moses make his coffee? I was thinking something to do with Exodus. How does Moses make his coffee?
He brews it.
That's good. That's good.
All right, tag him back out.
I'll give you a point. I'll give you a point on that.
Jeff Porter. He brews it. Hebrews.
You know, I don't know. I got it, John. You don't have to explain it to me. Our audience is much more sophisticated than that. Okay, I ordered a chicken and egg from Amazon recently.
All right.
Big ideas don't come easy. But when you get one, use that moment of clarity to create a new reality. To turn your pastime into your full-time.
My bad on the
Your
commercial,
personal
y'all.
style.
The 1990s were a time often regarded by many people, even contemporaries, as the end of history. Now, that's a very weird, controversial description. What does it even mean? Well, it is an observation that stems from the political and socioeconomic factors of the time that produced a much more alternative, carefree culture. Francis Fukuyama's The End of History and The Last Man from 1992 even shares this exact sentiment. In the 90s, you had the end of the Cold War, an economic boom, and all kinds of people from all around the world instantly connected to one another thanks to something called the internet. Relative to the rest of the century, heck, the rest of history, it felt like humanity finally figured things out. Now, obviously, the 90s were not the end of history. This feeling, shared by many people at the time, was a fad and nothing more. And of course, fads come and go. And this attitude certainly manifested into the cultural trends of the time, especially technological ones, as it was clear that computers and the internet were here to stay for good. With the year 2000 creeping up, the future was just around the corner. This was only the beginning of something incredible. And with our retrospective knowledge, we can now reflect on these tech trends that have since been forgotten, and how their absence only hammers in how much things have changed. Now, the first trend from this period that really stands out is see-through electronics. You had transparent phones, computers, Game Boys, and so on. It is important to keep in mind that the 1990s were essentially the bridge between the modern world that we recognize today and the archaic vintage world of the 20th century. So naturally, this was a decade which encompassed the customs of both. As a result, you get the over-materialization of new technologies specifically intended for a new virtual world, such as computers and the internet. It is really the only way to get people to easily migrate over to this new way of experiencing the world. But not only that, it must be appealing. The best way to showcase that this was the future was to constantly remind the user that. Much like in the 1950s, the environment of this time produced a culture that embraced this sort of idealized, polished, and glossy depiction of the future, what we now call retrofuturism. This was, of course, motivated by the whole concept of making things futuristic to celebrate the new millennium. Because yes, even with the Y2K panic still floating around in the tech world, the optimism for the future was still quite present. Heck, it wasn't even just technology. You had things like Clear Pepsi pop up. It was a trend that made transparency synonymous with the future. But it should also be noted that this was a trend that appeared much more towards the middle and end of the 90s. In fact, computers for a portion of the decade were arguably quite the opposite of appealing. Now, home computers garnered popularity based on their capability alone, but they were still very big, boxy, beige utilitarian machines. They were ugly. It looked like something designed for a professional work setting that required extensive training to use it properly. Consequently, many people still found computers very intimidating at this time. It was around 1998 where someone came up with the idea of bringing the trend of the transparent phone and TV sets over to the computer, and it was Apple. They released the iMac, which was the antithesis of these beige boxes. It was see-through, curvy, colorful. It looked like something out of the Jetsons. Additionally, It was specifically designed to make going on the internet easy. In fact, the I in iMac stood for internet. It felt like a computer for everyday people, by everyday people. Its popularity only strengthened this trend, which would even last quite a bit throughout the 2000s as well.
Thinking about starting to run on the treadmill again. I need to drop my belly fat.
Yeah, no, that's total BS.
I think I'm gonna start cutting carbs.
Also, total BS.
What am I supposed?
He dreams of joining the Royal Air Force. And as soon as he's old enough, he applies.
He was very short, about 5 feet tall, and quite thin at the time. And the story is that he tried a couple of times and was rejected.
Frank Whittle is stubborn and persistent.
Said, I need a living room. I want to build up a big machine which makes mathematical calculations.
They have no idea that their son's eccentric tinkering will change the future of the entire planet. Zusa begins work on a machine that will do more than just complex calculations. It can be programmed to actually think for itself. In other words, a computer. But to program it, he needs a language that both man and computer can understand. It dawns on Zusa that the solution lies in an ancient mathematical system called binary. He learns how it uses sequences of ones and zeros to represent numbers, similar to Morse code. It's a language so simple, even a machine can follow it. The next challenge, how to physically represent these ones and zeros in his machine. Zusa thinks he can do it with thousands of mechanical switches. A sequence of switches turned on or off can represent any number. So he rolls up his sleeves and starts building the switches by hand.
He took metal sheets and then he took a saw and he made a template and structures. He had about 30,000 metal sheets.
One by one, Zusa turns these sheets into the thousands of intricate metal switches that will create his binary sequences. Trouble is, if even one switch is out of alignment, none of it works. He has to find a better way. But now, world events threaten to derail his entire project. It's 1939. Konrad Zusa is called up to fight for Hitler.
We must have watched this. This must have been a
Concept. Zusa comes up with a brilliant solution to replace those cumbersome mechanical switches. He salvages electrical relays from old telephones and uses them instead. No electrical relays waiting to be brought to life. It's a moment of truth. Zusa feeds a complicated mathematical problem into the computer. Within minutes, it delivers the right answer. He's done it. Konrad Zusa has built the world's first fully programmable electronic computer.
He had a vision. He constructed a completely new type of calculating machines or computers. Partially, he was really a genius.
But there's a war going on, and the world's attention is elsewhere.
There was no press, there was no sensation, there was no report in any newspaper.
After the war, Zusa starts one of the world's first computer companies. Today, Konrad Zusa's binary-based design is the universal standard for every computer in the world.
Right.
More inventions of the decade.
All right, next.
Newspaper in
This is in Lowell, Mass.
Next.
From the original tax experts, this is H&R Block Online.
See why you
I switched from due dates to due dates, and it made me go from weeks behind to weeks ahead of my deadlines. You see, I used to just...
The business of living can be complicated by a particularly exhausting habit, our tendency to question our judgments with the passage of time. What had originally seemed like a clear-cut and soundly based decision can, after a few weeks or months, come under fresh scrutiny and inspire intense doubt, regret, shame, insomnia, and at points, hurried attempts to reverse a decision. For example, a few months ago, it seemed absolutely right to end our relationship. We had the partner's faults clearly in view, and we were certain that these made any sensible plans for the future untenable. But now, we're no longer so sure. We've been on a few dates, and they didn't go too well. We've been by ourselves a lot, and as we've been doing the laundry or walking around the park, we've started to remember how funny and clever, sweet and tender our ex could be. We're wondering whether we should, despite our original recommendation that neither of us should be in touch for a while, perhaps send them a falsely innocent text tonight. Or, last summer, we knew we didn't have a particularly good time at the beachside resort and vowed to stick to a cooler climate next time. But since then, the weather has turned very cold, and just recently, we're finding ourselves curious about returning south next year.
Right.
Or we told ourselves that we were fully done with a particular career, but we've been reflecting on matters since and happened to bump into an old colleague last week, and are now wondering whether we shouldn't maybe make another attempt. Or a friend from university has suggested a meal. We found them rather self-centered and dull when we last saw them a decade ago, but they sounded sparky in their invitation, and we agreed to meet them for lunch near the station next week. In such instances, it can be useful to keep a broad principle in mind. The further away we stand from the moment when we took a decision, the more our judgment is likely to be clouded and corrupted. And this is because of a feature of our minds that in most areas serves us extremely well, our capacity to let go of pain. The very faculty that means we can effectively mourn the death of a pet or a loved one, or get over a bankruptcy, or endure a drop in income, also means that we're likely to revise our views of an ex we worked very sensibly to eject from our lives, or that we will know within 5 minutes of re-meeting an acquaintance that they are as maddening as they ever were. We pick apart and dissolve our judgments because we cannot keep a clear eye on the powerful incentives we come under to do so, because we don't notice how indigestible certain truths have become. We abdicate to doubt under intolerable, irrepressible degrees of loneliness and sadness, isolation and confusion. Of course, we're going to start to question our views of our ex's strengths and weaknesses after 7 weekends substantially on our own, being humiliated on dating apps. Of course, we won't remember our friend's dispiriting character when we would so love to have a flourishing social life. When we wake up and wonder if we've been unfair or hasty, the sternest, most reasonable part of us should know to grab the controls and ask whether a revision to our views is likely to be accurate or simply convenient. Despite all the pressures we're under to believe otherwise, we should place our faith in the wisdom of a well-worn dictum. Trust what you knew then, not what you feel now.
Right. That was a good analysis.
The infantry has fallen behind the enemy lines. We're calling for backup. Quick, they're surrounding us.
I struggled with discipline for the majority of my life. I couldn't wake up early unless I absolutely had to because of work. I couldn't get myself to do things I knew were good for me, such as meditating and going on walks every day. I couldn't get a no-fap streak past like 3 days, and I could not stop wasting hours of my day on YouTube and social media. And keep in mind, this was during a period of my life where I was aware that I needed to change. I wanted to change. I wanted to improve myself. So the longer this went on, the more and more I struggled to be disciplined on these things, the lower and lower my self-trust became, which that alone wreaked havoc on my mental health. I mean, I thought that I wanted to do these things, and yet I just couldn't do it. And the thing about discipline is, without it, you stay exactly where you are, just continuing to struggle with the things you're struggling with in this endless downward spiral. And because of this, you will never reach consistency with the efforts you're trying to make, and therefore that life that you wish to have, that the discipline is the vessel to get to, will just remain nothing more than fiction. But it doesn't make sense, right? We have all these super disciplined alpha male gurus telling us that we just need to be more disciplined, and we look at their lives and they accomplish many of the things we wish to accomplish, and they credit it all to their supreme level of discipline. And I, like many people watching this video, didn't know that these disciplined gurus, these role models, these motivational speakers were actually making the situation worse for us, because we're constantly consuming this content that tells us, well, you just don't want it bad enough, you're not working hard enough, you just need to be more disciplined, bro. While simultaneously they're flashing their lifestyle, their success, their money, their relationships, and telling us that if you were disciplined like me, you would have this too. And what this does is all the guys that are consuming this content and that are trying to be disciplined and failing, it just increases their sense of hopelessness. It lowers their self-image, which, and I'll get into this more later, but it is actually further programming their mind to be less disciplined. Well, what if I told you that these businessmen, these athletes that got there, didn't actually get there through sheer brute force willpower? Well, that is the case, because that would be impossible, because willpower is a limited resource. Imagine you're in a room and you are overwhelmed by this smell of the most delicious chocolate chip cookies you have ever smelled in your entire life. The sweet, savory aroma fills the air, and you look across the room and see all of those cookies there. Not only cookies, but all other kinds of delicious chocolate treats. But instead of being able to walk over and eat them, you have to sit and eat a fucking radish. Well, there was actually a study that did exactly this. They threw a bunch of participants in this very room, and while some of them were perfectly allowed to go and eat whatever they want, they didn't have any instructions, others were instructed to sit in there and just eat the radish and resist the temptation and the smells and the yumminess of the chalky chip cookie over there. And after this happened, all participants were taken into another room where of the chalky chip cookie over there. And after this happened, all participants were taken into another room where they had to work on this seemingly unrelated puzzle, a puzzle that required persistence, aka willpower. And what they found is that those who had to sit in that room and eat the radish while resisting all the treats gave up way earlier than the people who were allowed to eat whatever they want and then just came and worked on the puzzle. Because the radish people already used up so much of their mental energy, their willpower, trying to resist the cookies. Therefore, they couldn't last very long with the puzzle. So right off the bat with this information, the first thing we can do is just start to be more greedy with your mental energy, with your willpower, with your decision making. This is why so many millionaire entrepreneurs wear the exact same clothes and eat the exact same foods every single day, because that's one less thing to try to think about or use up mental energy on. But while that's a great place to start, it's not enough. So as we now know, if all of those successful people actually just relied on willpower to get where they are, it would have ran out, just like it does for the rest of us. But if willpower isn't the answer, then what actually makes the disciplined disciplined is because the real reason they have this seemingly effortless discipline is because their minds are programmed to do so. And when something is part of your subconscious programming, your mind's programming, it becomes the default. Therefore, willpower isn't actually always required from them because they aren't actively resisting anything, compared to you, which has to actively resist your current programming to do the disciplines you wish to do. But imagine if something like working out or being productive felt as effortless as tying your shoe, for example, combined with most of those urges you get to do the bad habits, to do the bad things, disappearing, because most of these urges are just surfacing into your consciousness from the subconscious programming. And finally, since most of the discipline is coming effortlessly, you now have a much higher reserve of willpower that you can tap into if something comes along your way that you actually have to use willpower on. So what if this bottleneck of discipline was removed from your life? Would there be anything else really standing in the way besides time from you and your goals? Or would it just be a seemingly effortless progression to what you want out of life? This is the level that the elite, high-performing men are on. Same with the gurus that preach discipline. They just don't understand that the reason they're so disciplined is because of this mental programming. Therefore, they think preaching, just be disciplined, bro, is more than enough advice for you. But after you watch this video, you're not gonna have to listen to them anymore. You're not gonna have to deal with all that shitty advice because you'll know how to actually reprogram your mind to be disciplined. So the first reason why you haven't been able to be as disciplined as you'd like to be is because
are you looking for the best meal plan to round out your fitness routine? I got you. Factor was the missing link.
You need to know the answer to what he said. See ya next week. Mindful Monday. please.
Be a straight path. But in actuality, your journey will have unexpected stops. It will have curves, it will have hills, it will have valleys, you will have sunny days, you will have rainy days. But you have to decide. If I encounter rejection, if I encounter frustration, if I am disappointed,
see y'all later.
I will not give up. The key is to learn how to separate your feelings from your performance. Yes, some days I don't feel like working. Some days I have to battle with unfair situations. But at the end of the day, I have a decision to make.
Yes, ma'am.
Either I'm going to have a pity party or I'm going to figure out how to pull myself up. So I say to you today, pull yourself up. Lift up your bow down head. Guess what? Every day I have to choose to pull myself up. There will always be something that you can complain about. There will always be something that you could be worried about. But what I'm challenging you to do is to pursue your goals in spite of what's going on around you. Take a close look at your life.